terms of transition between league and union. It is different. There is a distinction there. You are more involved, and it's relying on muscle memory a little bit, isn't it, to kind of come back into it and I remember doing this. I remember having to work for my cash. So you can't argue with that as a day.
What I liked about his finishes as well, they were powerful finishes. They weren't like walk-ins, and they weren't also these spectacular dives that we've come so used to from wingers across the world. They were, I'm going to dominate you here, and especially his first, that was on the last tackle, and he picked up the ball. We fed the ball nearly 20 metres out, and he absolutely dominated his opposite number, score that try. So I think Charnley does deserve to be the main focus, and that's definitely what he got in this game. Let's just see if there's anything else that stands out on the list of things that happened in this game. According to this, Widnes had 2 captains, which is
maybe it's a leadership team.
Is a bit strange. I think the other thing is Warrington's forced a few goal line dropouts, so obviously they did build into the game and took total control of the game. And that second half basically was all Warrington until that last minute try. That was a bit of a weak ass try, kind of like what happened at the end of the Salford game as well. So you can't criticise the Widnes defence the Warrington defence for that too much. And well done to them. In terms of the stats, Warrington won across the board on the key stats that we look at, so maybe you would have expected an even bigger winning margin. Maybe the 4 goal line dropouts explains why they didn't quite do as well. But it was the away side that... Oh, no, I'm reading the wrong thing. But, even bigger margin than the winning 14 points they got. Most notable were the 339 more metres and 5% better team tackle success, but also more breaks, better average game, fewer errors, fewer penalties conceded, blah, blah, blah. This game had the most successful offloads of any this season, with 32. 18 of those did come from the losing Vikings side, and that kind of feeds into what we were actually talking about the Steve Price Warrington side before, earlier in the show, that he's kind of taken them back to a more stripped down approach, focusing on defence and fundamentals first of all, and I think it's standing him in good stead to compete with the top teams that have been at the top last year. I really do. Individually, Josh Charnley, 2 tries, 144 metres and 2 clean breaks on his return to rugby league. Toby King, 2 tries, 2 assists, 7 tackles, 107 metres, 2 clean breaks. Stefan Ratchford at fullback, 148 metres, and I believe he didn't take over the goal kicking in this one, so it's weird. They seem to be swapping goal kickers about.
So who was kicking
at Warrington, but it was back to Bryson Goodwin in this game. Chris Hill, 1 try assist and 129 metres. For the losing Vikings, Reece Hambry had a try and 110 metres. Chris Houston put in one of the 2 captains' efforts with 158 metres and 4 successful offloads. Sam Wild had a try assist, 45 tackles and 5 successful offloads, so he was working hard against his former side. Aaron Jeremiah, 41 tackles from the little hooker there. We move on to maybe the most surprising result of the first round of Easter fixtures, which was Huddersfield 22, Leeds Rhinos 22, and Huddersfield actually were 14 points to 6 to the good at half time. Now a big 7-5-4-4 was the crowd to watch Jack Smith referee this one at the John Smiths, and we had a couple of reviews in this one. Do you want to take us through those?
Yep, so Mark W says, the 2 best halves of rugby we've played all year. Leeds will count themselves lucky to get a point, and even luckier that dirty prick Ablett even, avoided a red card for attacking the man off the ball. Maybe there's hope for us yet. Oh, it's hope that kills you, man. Hope that kills you. And Rich Wilkinson says, a disappointing draw for Leeds. It feels like a point lost. As Brian Mack predicted, Hoods raised their game out of sight for their cup final. Shame they don't have that fight week in, week out. Leeds outscored Huddersfield in tries, so the attack is a bonus. Moon and Myler looking really good.
I think, although there were some, good stuff from the halfbacks are really good for Leeds this year. I think the flowing off each other really quite well in a strange way, because they're not exactly playing together all the time, because Moon's not that kind of halfback, but it's working really well. And Ash Hanley's going great guns at centre and had another really good performance in that regard in this game, and probably was a big factor in them getting back into the game. for Leeds. But the story for this one has to be Huddersfield, because they were utter shite against Wigan the week before. Like I said, the worst performance I'd seen all season, so I couldn't have anticipated this whatsoever, especially as they threw in young Louis Senior on the wing, Sam Hewitt, who was the second rower turned centre, who had to come on early doors for Aaron Murphy whilst he was getting a head test. They had Jared Simpson back from Dewsbury, who hadn't played Super League in 2 years, as far as or 18 months anyway, and Darnell McIntosh, who barely got a look in this year, although did look promising last year. Tyler Dickinson's another young forward that they had on the bench as well. With that side, particularly, I was expecting him to get destroyed.
A shellacking.
To be completely honest. I mean, when they announced the squad, there was another man in the 19-man squad who seems to not be in the 19-man squad. No, it was Louis Senior, actually, sorry. When he was named in the 19-man squad, I was texting Mark W. to say, I've never heard of some of your kids in this game. We couldn't find the basic details that both of us like to put in our spreadsheets, like players' dates of birth and stuff like that. We couldn't find basic details, even on the Huddersfield Giants website. That's how new to this Louis Senior is. But yeah... But these players played well. I mean, Sam Hewitt came on, had to work really hard, played marginally out of position in the centre at first and then moved into the forwards. Jared Simpson, tiny little kid, but he was up against Ryan Hall and managed to have a decent knock of things, as it seemed, when you look at the stats and the fact that he grabbed a couple of tries. So, all in all, you've got to say that's pretty decent.
I mean... Obviously, this kind of weekend and I suppose the weekend before and the weekend after, they're always a tricky balance out there in terms of managing your resources and managing your energy levels. So the kind of, if you can slightly take your foot off the gas in terms of, substituting players or kind of reducing your intensity, that's probably no bad thing. But yeah, obviously Huddersfield got up for this one, but we're certainly not up for the one week before or indeed on Monday. So... It's a tricky balance, and when you've got a thin squad, as Huddersfield have with all their injuries, I don't know, is it the best thing to kind of fight for one game? But you'd have thought they'd have been fighting on Monday rather than on Friday.
Leeds don't have a thin squad, do they? But they are weak at one particular position, prop forward, because of all the injuries they've had there. So that was a battle, I suppose, for them to counteract. Probably their first choice forwards for front row for the Giants. So yeah, there's maybe a sort of question.
It's just a tricky one. It's just really tricky to kind of, if you can get out of the 4 games at Easter and if you have 3 out of 4 wins, you probably count yourself as being successful.
Well, one strange positional choice for the Rhinos that Brian McDermott made in this one was he put Ashton Golden on the bench as the interchange hooker, and Matt Parcell was, I would guess, rested because he was back in the team for Easter Monday. So that was an interesting choice. It didn't hurt them in the end because they got a point out of it, but it probably seems like a draw was a fair result.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? I think Huddersfield would have been happy with the point without question. Obviously, Leeds, it's you can see it as a point dropped, but
certainly Ash Hanley's tries were the kind of highlight stuff for me again. He's playing really well. So 2 key stats in particular had a big difference between the sides, but probably they ended up cancelling each other out somewhat, which is kind of what resulted in the draw. So Leeds won the clean break count 9-5, but lost the error count 13-8. So basically what that kind of means is Leeds were making more chances, but making more mistakes, preventing themselves from converting on more chances. I would, let's hope that was down to resilient Huddersfield defence that forced those errors. Individually, Jared Simpson, 2 tries, 136 metres. Darnell McIntosh, 173 metres, running kicks back. Aaron Murphy, 132 metres, despite going off with a head knock early on and then coming back in. Seb Ikehefo, 7 tackles and 4 successful offloads, so doing the things he did so well last year. For Leeds, Ash Hanley with 2 tries, 1 try assist, 7 tackles, 152 metres, 2 clean breaks. Callum Watkins with a try and 119 metres. Ryan Hall with a try, 167 metres, and 2 clean breaks. And Joel Moon, 2 try assists, 5 tackles, 106 metres, 3 successful offloads. So yeah, some skillful players there getting in the stats roundup. Right, we move on to round 9 now, do we? Assumingly?
Yeah. Nothing else happened.
Oh, sorry.
Nothing else happened.
There was the small matter of St Helens 21, Wigan 18. 12-2 it was to Saints at half time, so Wigan managed somewhat of a second half fight back in front of a full house of 17,980, and Robert Hicks was the man with the whistle. Take it away.
Okay, so at Brit Renegade, also known as, or indeed always known as the Electric Gigolo, lots of possession by Wigan in the first half and did nothing with it apart from a 2-point penalty kick. Attack was a little disjointed with Sam Tompkins missing. Also, Escaril going off lost their attacking flair. Good game to watch, and despite a Saints win, nice to see a Welshman getting the winning try.
Benjamin79 at big with 2 G's _ Ben with 2 N's 1 said, Wigan gave away too many penalties. Barber's good but not amazing. Should have been a penalty for a ball steal on Sean O'Loughlin. Shouldn't have been a penalty, for a ball steal on Sean O'Loughlin. It's now 8-1 since Sean Wayne took over. I think it means since Sean Wayne was involved in the first team setup. # forever in our shadow.
Yeah,
First one, Ben.
It's #1 in a row, isn't it? Yes. On the other side of the fence, St David said, yes, what a game. Saints on top in the first half and should have gone in further ahead. Pie's the better side in the second. See, there you go, see?
Yeah.
And deserve the lead with Tompkins and Flower influential. A hugging strangers finish made it a proper derby. Roby man of the match. Grand final repeat, please. Interesting.
Well, yeah, because every time Wigan and Saints play in the grand final, other than the Ben Flower sending off game, the winner of the grand final has been the team that won the Easter derby. So,
right, okay.
Phil Naden said, another great game for the neutral spectator. Good end to stuff with great defensive play from both sides. Saints, I feel, had more of a control on the game, but Wigan are always dangerous if left unchecked. Rovers, I think, are going to get hammered. He was looking forward to the future there. Yeah. Do you know what? I left this game not feeling too broken-hearted, even though we lost. Because what I knew walking away from this game is I felt like whichever team had been at home probably would have had the momentum in the last quarter of the game to take this away. I think home field's helped swing things in terms of maybe a couple of decisions, and also when the crowd get behind your team, it gives you a bit of a burst, and if the other team make a mistake, the crowd, certainly a full house like that sort of atmosphere was a cracking atmosphere, can do that. So I feel like whoever was at home probably would have won this game. I also feel like if we play them in the final, we can beat this team. Even though the scoreline as it was reflects that St Helens were marginally the better side in this game, I felt, and it really swung on the first 15 minutes. Wigan had, I wouldn't say a stranglehold on the game, but were the more dominant side, and then we couldn't take advantage with a couple of kicks to Burgess's wing that didn't quite come off, and then Barber made a break up the middle and scored a try. Morgan Escray made a bit of a shy attempt defensively.
He didn't really make any attempt.
Yeah.
He said this way or that way, whichever you like.
But Barber did have, I suppose it was clean through on him, and he's a difficult man to stop in that situation. Great offload from Luke Thompson, probably the only thing that he did in that game that was a real positive, because Ben Flower absolutely dominated him, I thought, for most of the rest of the game. I was shocked when Luke Thompson was in the man of the match voting. I thought it was his worst game of the season so far. Now that's saying a lot, because he's been so brilliant that his worst game of the year is still as good as most props' average game of any season in the last 5 years. That's how good he's been so far this year. But I thought Ben Flower was absolutely outstanding for Wigan on him. I actually thought Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook was the best forward for Saints in this game. When he came on in the first half, kind of coincided with just after that Barber try, and he always found elbows and knees, got quick play of the balls, always helped or unsettled the Wigan defenders around the ruck. I thought he was really, really good in that second half of the first half. James Roby came to the fore then, and from about 15 minutes into the game till about 15 minutes left in the game, James Roby was peerless on that pitch in terms of who was the best player on that pitch. I thought, and I can't believe he wasn't in the man of the match voting. The ones they picked out for Wigan were fair enough.